OJ Rose here, and today we're going to be talking about section 14 of belonging again. We talked about last time about how problematic it is to fail to understand that often democratic debates are between people who share very different ultimate concerns, metaphysical assumptions about reality, different immanent frameworks, and that as a result, to get them to change their views, say on abortion, gay marriage, you name it, gun rights, is often just doomed for failure, because you're not going to succeed at making people change those views unless you change the entire structure, the entire system, metaphysical system, out of which their positions on those views spring. To use Thomas Sowell, he has this book called The Conflict of Visions. He talked about the constrained vision and the unconstrained vision. And it's a really important book, actually. I suggest it. And really, what Hunter is pretty much saying is that we often think that we're talking about abortion, but we're really talking about unconstrained visions, unconstrained versus constrained vision, these entire immanent frameworks. And that if we don't realize that, then we're going to get frustrated when we don't get the results that we want to see. In a very similar way, Hunter wants to also argue that culture is very deep, that culture is not just something that you can move in and out of easily. And he's very critical of multiculturalism. Now, he's not saying that it's bad to observe other cultures, to have empathy or anything like that. But what he wants to argue is that in a very real sense, there is no such thing as multiculturalism, because culture is essentially deep. It is essentially deep. It gets into your very, very bones, your very soul, and it's just not possible to move between cultures that you are not born into in the same way that you are part of your own culture. And because culture is just much deeper than food or song or clothing or language. It gets into the very way you see the world. It's not just something. It's not just a pair of glasses that you can take on, take off, put on, take off, put on, try a different pair. It really is your eyes. It becomes part of your culture. Becomes part of your very eyes. It's not a pair of glasses that can be removed. But the problem is when you create the impression that culture is something touristy, something that we can move in and out of like a tourist, then again, you create a false impression of what democracy can accomplish. It is not possible for democracy to unify people on grounds of getting them to move out of their cultures. And the question of the section is, can multiculturalism help us create belonging? And it really can't, because there's no such thing as multiculturalism. Now, we're going to have to talk later about what empathy is and if empathy can help, and it certainly can. But to cut to the chase, I'm not sure if empathy can help with belonging as opposed to it can help us manage our lack of belonging. But anyway, culture is not something that we can move in and out of like a tourist. It is part of our very souls. And if that is the case, we really can't be but so multicultural, because we can't really have more than one soul. And even if it was possible, perhaps, for us to have 3 souls or 3 essential cultures, we're never going to get to 20 or 50, and we exist in a world with hundreds of them. So anyway, we really need to understand that multiculturalism, culture, is very deep, and that multicultural, the term itself, is a kind of a contradiction. It's kind of impossible to have multiple cultures. And if we fail to realize that in democracy, we might aim for goals that frustrate us, and when those goals frustrate us, totalitarianism can become appealing. We might try to force people out of their cultures, thinking it's for their own good, but it's not possible to separate people from their own souls without killing them. So it won't lead to a good result. So anyway, that's section 14 of Belonging. Again, for more, please visit ogrose.com, and thank you for your time.